Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Site for Wight, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Saturday, the 23rd of April, 2022. I very much hope everybody had a good Easter. The weather has certainly improved this week, and it's lovely to sit here today looking out of the window and see the sun streaming through. Last weekend, I attended an Easter fair in Petersfield and represented the charity. It was different not doing it on the island because, of course, nobody knew about the charity, but delighted to say that we sold lots of Easter chicks and Easter baskets, knitted items such as cloths and mobile phone cases that our members and volunteers have knitted for us, and raised some more vital funds for the charity. Next week is also looking very busy, as it is our members' annual holiday. Staff and volunteers join together to take members away on holiday, and this year we are attending Warner's in Yarmouth for a 3-day break. Wishing everybody a very happy holiday, and we look forward to the stories after you return. This week we also sent out a mini newsletter reminding people of activities, and we're delighted to say that riding has now picked up and we are now full for the next ride on the 9th of May. Also, we advertised 10-pin bowling, which takes place in Ryde, and the Mellbrook Milers, which is a shorter version of the Striders Walk where people can be guided along a shorter 1 to 2 mile walk. This week, we also went on the Wet Wheels boat out of Cowes. We got a very late offer of some late available spaces, so we rang a couple of members who we knew had enjoyed this experience before, and judging from the photos and the email that I had afterwards, it was a very thoroughly enjoyable day, and of course the weather was a big factor in this as the sun was shining all day. I hope everybody finds this Talking News well and safe, and we look forward to seeing people at activities and social events here at Millbrook House and across the island. Thank you, Lisa, CEO, Site for Wight.
This is Den reading an article from Isle of Wight. Gunville application for 149 new homes back on table. A housing plan refused by the Isle of Wight Council 10 months ago is back on the table. The hybrid application is looking once again to build 149 homes on the edge of Gunville. The revised plans have sought to address concerns that led to the plans being thrown out by the authority's planning committee last year, including inadequate access and the wider impact on highways. Despite seriously considering appealing the committee's decision, which went against council planning officers' advice, applicants DN Associates and planning agent Andrew White say they have identified changes that would help reduce concerns. In the previous plans, access would have been through 2 roads on the estate. A third has now been identified via the next door Ash Lane development. This means traffic would be able to access Gunville Road through 2 routes, a significant step, Mr White said, as it spreads the load of additional traffic across the wider network. Another concern was the impact the increased traffic would have had on the Waverley roundabout at the top of Carisbrooke High Street, with the refused schemes based on traffic surveys from 2016. Updated traffic surveys and modelling have been undertaken, which Mr White says demonstrate no capacity problems at any of the relevant junctions as a result of the proposed development, including the roundabout. The outcome of the 2021 surveys, Mr White goes on to say, shows in some cases there were fewer movements on the roads than 2016, and at the Waverley roundabout over 200 fewer vehicles came up Carisbrooke High Street during the afternoon peak compared to the previous data. To help mitigate the traffic impact in the area, DN Associates are prepared to make a financial contribution to the council to see the potential reopening of Taylor Road, which would connect Wellington Road and Gunville Road, should it be necessary as part of the overall planning balance. Another change to the plans has been to set aside 12 community parking spaces to replace those on the existing estate that might be lost should the access roads be installed. The bulk of the application has remained the same, with more than 50 affordable houses proposed, out of the total 149. You can view the plans 22/00629/OUT in capitals and 22/00631/ FUL on the Council's Planning Register. Comments can be submitted until May the 16th.
This is Michael reading an article from On the Wight. Here are the Isle of Wight beaches that are off limits or restricted to dogs from the 1st of May. We all love a beach day out and a paddle in the sea, including our four-legged friends. The Isle of Wight has some of the most beautiful beaches in the country, and most are dog-friendly. However, during the summer season, some of our beaches are off-limits or restricted to dogs between the 1st of May to the September the 30th. You could get a £100 fixed penalty fine for anyone caught with their dog in restricted areas during this time, or up to £1,000 if prosecuted in court. A full list of the beaches where the restrictions are in place between May and September can be found at Council website. Cabinet-led for Waste, Environment and Heritage, Councillor Jonathan Bacon, said, "Our public space protection orders are there to ensure everyone, visitors and residents alike, can enjoy our parks and public spaces. It means that owners must clear up after their dogs. You can use any public bin and not just dog-specific bins, and keep your dog under control and abide by the restrictions that are in place. The orders are in place to preserve wildlife areas in our beautiful island biosphere. Most dog owners are responsible people, but we all know of or have seen some owners who don't control their dogs and have no respect for others. The orders make sure we have the powers to deal with the few who don't act responsibly. A full list of the beaches and other areas where the restrictions are in place, as well as further information about dog microchipping and reporting an incident, can be found on our website. Maps of these areas are listed below. Colwell Beach, Cowes Beach, East Cowes Beach, Freshwater Bay, Gurnard Beach, Sandown Beach, Shanklin Beach, Springvale Beach, Ventnor Beach, Yaverland Beach, Ryde Beach. However, the good news for our pampered pooches is that there are still plenty of beaches that welcome dogs all year round. You can find a list of these on the Visit Isle of Wight website, as well as plenty of other great ideas on exploring with your dog.
This is Patrina reading from Island Echo. Elizabeth Line Purple creates new challenge for Island firm A.J. Wells and Son. Isle of Wight business A.J. Wells and Son have been making roundels for the London Underground for more than 3 decades. But the design and manufacture work for the Elizabeth Line created a new challenge for the company. A.J. Wells and Sons, which has been in operation since 1972, was awarded a number of contracts to provide wayfinding signage, vitreous enamel and stainless steel cladding, stainless steel brackets and CCTV housings for many of the 41 stations that make up the new Elizabeth Line, also known as Crossrail. The company is one of just a few enamelling plants in the UK, and a team of 30 on the island work across design, artwork, surveying, manufacturing and installation. The contracts have boosted revenues over the last 5 years and have allowed investments in staff recruitment and training, as well as new machinery and equipment, allowing the company to increase their product offering at their facilities as the programme required innovative designs that pushed the limits of traditional signage production. One of the biggest challenges of taking on the Elizabeth Line project was the purple tone within the design, which performed differently across the materials the company used. Cedric Wells, one of the directors at A.J. Wells and Sons, explains, "Although we have produced roundels for the majority of London Underground stations, the Elizabeth Line presented a new challenge for us. It was the first time we have used purple across such a wide range of materials, and it performs quite differently, whether it is enamelled, printed onto glass, or illuminated. We still find it exciting to see our roundels in stations, so we are looking forward to the opening of the Elizabeth Line. We are proud to play our part and bring a bit of the Isle of Wight to the capital." Andy Byford, Transport for London's Commissioner, said, "Companies of all sizes from all corners of the UK have helped deliver the Elizabeth Line, with 96% of contracts awarded to companies based within the UK and 62% of suppliers based outside of London. During construction, the project has supported thousands of jobs across the country and supported thousands of new homes. A.J. Wells represents a classic example of the widespread economic benefits that the Elizabeth Line has brought to the South East and beyond. We're moving ever closer to the launch of the Elizabeth Line. I can't wait to welcome customers from across the UK and beyond to this transformational addition to our transport network." The Elizabeth Line is expected to open between now and June as part of a phased opening, with the final timetable coming into force by May 2023. The service in the central section between Paddington and Whitechapel will operate at 24 trains an hour during the peak.
Hello, this is Steve reading a story from the Island Echo, headlined "Housing Plan for Somerton Reservoir Site Recommended for Approval." 4 years after plans were submitted for major development of the former Somerton Reservoir in Cowes, they have been recommended for approval. The plans, which have now been put forward for approval by Isle of Wight Council planning officers, would see a mixture of 146 residential properties built on the brownfield site, including 28 three-bedroom houses, 34 four-storey blocks of flats, with a total of 72 two-bed apartments, one block of 44 assisted living units, 4 times 2-bed and 41-bed, one staff unit and one guest unit with a gym, swimming pool, restaurant, laundry, kitchen, function spaces and communal sitting areas. Parking would be built into the former reservoir basin. Concerns over the development have been raised by the nearby Cowes Medical Centre, who said they would have insufficient capacity, as well as Friends of Northwood Cemetery, Northwood Parish Council and Cowes Town Council. One reason the Hartwood Homes scheme has not yet been determined, despite the long time frame, is an argument over how much affordable housing would be provided. With abnormal build costs and challenges due to the nature of the site, the development would be unable to provide the Council's required 35% affordable housing contribution, nor a satisfactory financial one. A dispute between the Council and the applicants over the final market value of the properties reached an impasse, so a compromise has been agreed. In line with national planning policies, the Isle of Wight Council is prepared to allow only 10% affordable housing on site, as other specialist accommodation is proposed. Officers agree with planning agents when they say the proposed design would have a strong impact to grab the eye and would represent a dramatic change from the current street scene. Officers say the change would not be considered harmful or unacceptable in the wider context of the need to deliver housing and optimise the use of a brownfield site. The current bungalow at the site on Newport Road, Cowes, would have to be demolished to allow the development to go ahead. The council said the bungalow's owner, however, objected to the scheme back in 2018 and said no agreement had then been reached to demolish it. As a result of the development, minor highways improvements have been recommended to the Somerton roundabout due to the potential increase in traffic. The roundabout will reach capacity by next year, even without the additional housing, but the mitigation put forward would combat rush hour traffic. If permission were to be granted, following the officer's recommendation, 22 conditions would be imposed. The final decision will be made by the Isle of Wight Council's Planning Committee on the 26th of April.
This is Den reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Newport mum's horror after son finds dead slug in Cadbury Easter egg. An Isle of Wight mother says she is horrified after she claimed to find a dead slug in her son's Cadbury Easter egg. Mondelez International, which owns the chocolate giants, said it would investigate the incident. Sarah Handley from Newport told Isle of Wight Radio the egg was bought by a family member from Waitrose, East Cowes, on March the 28th. It was given as a gift to Sarah's son, who has special needs. As he went to crack it open, Sarah says he discovered what appeared to be a dead slug. Pictures taken by Sarah seemed to show slime and a slug partly melted into the chocolate. Sarah said she has contacted Cadbury, only to be told to call back on Tuesday. She said she posted the images on Facebook to make people aware. The egg, which is a Dairy Milk Buttons egg, has a best before date of July the 31st, 2022. A Mondelez spokesperson said, "We are sorry to hear about this experience. Quality is of paramount importance to us, and we will contact the customer so we can carry out a full and thorough investigation."
This is Michael reading from Isle of Wight Radio. Seaview Southern Water Works delayed, but progress made after meeting. Repairs to an outfall pipe in Seaview have been delayed so specialists can undertake the work. In February, Isle of Wight MP Bob Seeley confirmed Southern Water would repair the main Seaview outfall pipe, which releases discharges into the Solent following pressure from residents. It had been hoped work would take place in April before the summer season starts, but the company has now told a meeting of concerned village residents the work will not start this month, as different contractors will do the job and permits need to be granted. Speaking on Tuesday evening, Laura Moran, Southern Water's customer service manager, said the work has been passed to maritime specialists as it was not right for the company's usual island contractors. She said those now contracted will scope out the work from Thursday and a project outline will be completed by next week, which can be then shared. The work needed to be carried out, however, requires permits, which in some cases need 28 days to acquire, that have yet to be applied for. Southern Water representatives were answering questions from the public last night about issues including solutions to the island's drainage problems and discharges into the Solent. Raymond Simmons, who organised the meeting, said they had 4 objectives from Southern Water in Seaview: to repair the pipes quickly, make them long enough to keep sewage off beaches, bury the pipes deep enough and reduce discharges from the bay. Southern Water reiterated its plans to reduce discharges from the island by 80% by 2030, but only if 40% of the surface water runoff could be diverted, as it overwhelms the island's water system. Speaking after the meeting, Mr. Simmons said the feeling in the room from residents was apparent, and while Southern Water had come reasonably well prepared, more could have been said. Councillor Dave Adams, who invited the water company to a meeting, said he thought it went very well and progress had been made. He said, "I think residents are right to have concerns. I have concerns. If we are blatantly honest, and in fairness to Southern Water, we do have to work with what we have got, so there is no real quick fix. A proposal was made to set up a hub with the water company and residents so local knowledge and information could be shared. Keith Herbert, Southern Water's operations manager for the island, said he was delighted to see so many people passionate about the environment, but if they were going to achieve their target, they needed everyone to work together.
This is Patrina reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight Ambulance Service leads the way with new communications system. The Isle of Wight Ambulance Service is leading the way with a pioneering new communication system. Frequentis Life X is a state-of-the-art control room solution used by ambulance dispatchers to communicate with ambulance crews. The system enables the dispatch team to contact the ambulance crews in enhanced ways, using voice and data methods, and provides greater resilience to the service. The new digital system went live in February and replaces the previous communication system which had reached the end of its serviceable life. The service said that Life X has been operating for 5 weeks and has led to a streamlined communication process, allowing dispatchers to operate more effectively, allowing crews to respond to people using 999 and NHS 111 services more efficiently. The island has fully tested the new platform and has helped the national programme move into its delivery phase and roll out to the rest of the country. Victoria White, head of ambulance, said, "We are very proud to be at the forefront of this national project and to be the first ambulance service in the country to migrate to the new system. The system will undoubtedly improve the way that we respond to calls. This includes the ability to contact other partner services quickly and easily, and it has a unique mapping function which is able to split emergency and non-emergency calls, helping the team to deliver care to those who need it most in our community. I would like to express my thanks to our ambulance control room staff, who have taken on a new system and all the changes that come with that in their stride and continue to provide an efficient and professional service. They really have been instrumental in making this migration a success. It has been a privilege to work with our national colleagues at AARP and Frequentis to push forward the installation of Frequentis Life X. The Isle of Wight is a good location to pilot systems such as this one, and we are delighted to have been given the opportunity to lead the way. Andy Madge, Managing Director for Frequentis UK, which is the service provider, said, "Frequentis is pleased to be supporting the ambulance radio programme with the implementation of Life X, our next generation communications platform for emergency services. In implementing it with the Isle of Wight National Health Trust, we have been working with both national and local organisations to ensure that Life X can deliver more efficient and effective communications for all first responders. We look forward to a long-term relationship as we support the Isle of Wight and roll out Life X to other trusts around England, Scotland and Wales." Ian Huff from the Ambulance Radio programme said, "We would like to extend our thanks to the Isle of Wight for leading the way and agreeing to be the pilot trust. ARP would like to thank all who have been involved in the rollout of the new system. The achievement of this significant milestone represents a major step forward in the Control Room Solutions programme and a good foundation for future rollout to all ambulance services across Great Britain."
Hi, this is Steve reading a story from Island Echo, headlined Young People Share Heartwarming Stories of First Prince's Trust Programme on the Island. A group of young people from the Isle of Wight have been sharing their heartwarming stories about the difference the Prince's Trust scheme has made to their lives. The teens joined the Isle of Wight's very first Prince's Trust team programme as strangers, but leave as a group of friends with new skills, boosted confidence and a direction for their futures. The group of individuals pushed themselves out of their comfort zone, worked together on team challenges, and improved their job prospects with CV writing support, mock interviews and work experience, all whilst gaining a nationally recognised certificate in employment, teamwork and community skills. Furthermore, £750 was raised for a local charity from a pop-up car wash held at Ryde Fire Station. This helped pay for the materials needed to transform a community garden for a Spire ride. On Thursday 14th of April, the achievements of the group were celebrated by parents and friends during a presentation ceremony. The young people completed their final team task and shared heartwarming stories about their experiences of the programme. Emily Smith, who's 19, from Ryde, said, "I wasn't doing anything with my life before, but it has changed my life. I have a purpose now, and it's given me a sense of direction. I plan to start college in September on a childcare course for 2 years on the path of becoming a special educational needs teaching assistant at a primary school. I feel really proud to be part of the first team on the island and look forward to reminding people I was there at the beginning in years to come." 17-year-old Kyle Dawson, who's from St Lawrence, said, "I was in trouble before, hanging out with the wrong crowd and had nothing better to do when a police officer suggested I sign up to the programme. I was very nervous about joining, but I'm so pleased I did. It's pushed me out of my comfort zone." The programme has been running successfully in Hampshire for 2 decades, but following the formation of Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service in April 2021, the service is proud to have now delivered its first team based at Ryde Fire Station. Among those present at the presentation afternoon were Lord Lieutenant of the Isle of Wight Susie Sheldon, High Sheriff Kay Marriott, Chairman of Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Authority Councillor Rudian Vaughan, and Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service Chief Fire Officer Neil Odin. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service Prince's Trust Manager Joanna Gregory said, "We're thrilled to celebrate our first island team and all they have achieved over the last 12 weeks. We're very proud of the impact our young people have made in their community and excited to see them take their first steps as they enter the workplace or seek further education." The Prince's Trust Team programme is free and aims to reduce the number of young people who are not in education, training or employment by providing them with life skills and a qualification, helping them to prepare for further education or employment.
Then reading an article from Island Echo. Quarry plan for Wootton formally submitted to the local authority. Plans for a new quarry to be established in Wootton have been submitted to the Isle of Wight Council, with hopes that it will help ensure the island can source its own sand and gravel to make construction materials for the next decade. The application by Wight Building Materials, WBM, for 10-year use of land at Palmer's Farm off Brock's Copse Road also includes measures to alleviate local concerns over site traffic and protect and enhance the local environment, including reducing the speed limit to 30 miles an hour. The plan is vital, as Palmer's Farm is the island's last known significant resource of available sand and gravel left. Similar materials at WBM's current sites will run out within 2 to 3 years, while the level of permitted sand and gravel reserves on the island is now below the 7-year minimum required by national policy. The alternative to locally sourced aggregates is to import them from the mainland, a complex and costly operation that leaves the local construction industry vulnerable to national economic and supply factors, as well as presenting the logistic challenges of importing large quantities from the mainland via unregulated, large and frequent lorry movements. WBM's application states, use of indigenous resources is the most sustainable means of the island meeting its own needs and one that the current Isle of Wight core strategy supports. Imported sand and gravel would have to travel further, which is less sustainable, more expensive and reduces jobs and investment on the island. While stressing the wider importance of the application, WBM is also addressing issues raised locally about the possible effect on the Wootton environment and on traffic movements. The plan, therefore, commits to minimising the ecological impact both before quarrying begins. Work will be undertaken in 4 mini phases, each restored before work on the next begins, and also afterwards when the site is reinstated to create a more diverse habitat than it is currently. These steps, assessed by Island Ecological Experts ARC as being a 23% habitat net gain, include planting a 1.5 hectares of native woodland and 1.8 kilometres of native hedgerow, creating a designated new reptile habitat and 2 small ponds wetland areas. Steps to control traffic include limiting site movements to between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. on weekdays only, and then only via a designated route from the site via Brock's Copse Road and Alveston Road, the racecourse roundabout section. Traffic will not use Palmer's Road. Lorry movement will be coordinated so site vehicles do not meet each other on Brock's Copse Road or Alveston Road, and a new site access will be created on Brock's Copse Road, away from the properties in the road. In addition, passing points in Alveston Road will be improved, while WBM will also fund the preparation of a traffic regulation order to introduce a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on Brock's Copse Road. Just 2 employees using 3 vehicles, a dozer, a digger and a dumper truck, will carry out quarrying work, and there will be no quarrying at the weekends or bank holidays. No processing will be undertaken on site. Steve Burton, WBM General Manager, said, "While this is an application of island-wide significance, we have taken great care to listen to and minimise the impact on nearby residents. But our business and the island needs sand and gravel, and we can only source that where it exists. The Palmer's Farm deposit is unique as it's the last known significant resource capable of meeting the islands over the next decade in a tightly controlled and highly sustainable way."
Hello, this is Steve reading a story from Isle of Wight Radio, headlined Major Plans Unveiled for Fort Victoria Pier near Yarmouth. Major plans to breathe life into the former Fort Victoria Pier near Yarmouth have been unveiled. Miles Blamire, acting as applicant, wants to restore the redundant pier, building a shellfish and fish landing processing facility, shop and restaurant as part of the West Hill Beach development. They have applied to the Isle of Wight Council for planning permission. Marked as a brownfield site, the pier sits next to the Grade 2 listed Fort Victoria and was formerly used as part of the military operation there. The pier, its tram lines and ancillary structures were used to move, store and load marine mines. But the site was partially dismantled once the military use stopped. In the mid-80s, it became part of a small boat building yard, but following the redevelopment of the area into a tourism destination in the late 90s, it has been untouched. A heritage statement by West Sussex Archaeology, submitted as part of planning documents, says the pier is considered to be of great significance as a surviving example of late 19th century military installation. However, its significance is reduced, they say, due to the partial demolition and its poor condition following considerable erosion. The pier will be refurbished using the existing piles to become a public access space with the commercial fisheries and sea to fork eatery. Agents on behalf of Miles Blumire BCM say the West Hill Beach development seeks to invigorate and energise the historic landmark, providing a hub for education, tourism and economic growth. The designs for the pier, BCM says, will create a small landmark folly, embracing the beauty of the seascape and creating something of equal quality. As part of West Hill Beach, 5 4-bed houses are also proposed on land in front of the pier, which will in part fund the commercial development. The homes will be constructed on suspended rafts, supported on new piles, creating a clean, modern and composed sense of place and identity.
This is Patrina reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight volunteer wins award for work maintaining graves. An Isle of Wight man has been recognised for his voluntary work helping to maintain graves on the island. Gary Newman, a volunteer for the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, CWGC, has received an award for going above and beyond for the organisation. He has also been recognised for his passion for World War history and inspiring people with talks. He was recently given the prestigious Spotlight Award, along with a letter from the CWGC's Director General, Claire Horton, congratulating him and thanking him for his work. He said, "I served in the Royal Navy in the medical branch for more than 35 years. At one time involved in preparing the fallen for their final return home from Afghanistan, which when I left, helped inspire me to volunteer with Commission, along with having quite a few relatives from the island, having fallen in World War I and World War II, including my paternal grandfather, who is commemorated on the Thiepval Memorial in France." The CWGC Spotlight Awards are designed to shine a light on and celebrate the exceptional work of volunteers, individually or in teams, who have gone over and beyond what is expected from them. Gary is one of 4 volunteers to help across 12 sites with 214 casualties on the Isle of Wight. He joined as a volunteer in 2021 and has 8 talks booked for this year. He will be involved in this year's War Graves Week, titled Ordinary People, Extraordinary Times, which takes place from May the 21st to the 28th. This will be a chance for residents to explore the war graves on their doorstep, with planned talks and tours. He added, "I very much enjoy my work for the Commission, and now the weather is improving, I'm looking forward to getting out on the ground and visiting the lads and lasses in my care."
Hi everyone, this is Steve reading a story from the Island Echo, headlined Broken Promises. Island Line won't be running full 30-minute timetable anytime soon. Despite a £26 million investment in the island's railway line, with promises of a 30-minute timetable, it has been revealed that Island Line will continue running a predominantly hourly service until at least November. It was back in December last year that the hourly timetable, launched in November, was adjusted to introduce 2 trains an hour during peak times only, which was said to be a stepping stone towards the full half-hourly service that the South Western Railway was committed to delivering. Now, 4 months on, there's no sign of delivering on that commitment, as a newly published timetable reveals there are no plans to increase the number of services within the next 7 months. The news comes as South Western Railway reveals its new timetable journeys between 29th of May and the 5th of November. Under the new timetable, the first journey of the day between Monday and Friday will be the 5:47 from Ryde Esplanade, with a train departing every half an hour until 8:47. The timetable then switches to early through until 4:15, before then reverting to half early. It goes early again at 19:51 hours until the last service at 23:17 hours, which terminates at Ryde St John's. Despite there being a half-hourly service during the peak periods, the train will still only meet the catamaran every hour due to Wight Link's reduced timetable. The first train to meet a ferry is at 5:45 a.m. from Ryde Pier Head. On Saturdays, trains will run hourly from 5:47 a.m. until a short 30-minute timetable comes into force at 10:14 a.m. until 12:47 p.m. Trains will then run early again until 4:47 p.m. before resuming a 30-minute service during dinner time until 7:51 p.m. and then early until the end of the day. On Sundays, an early service is in force all day with all trains travelling to Ryde Pier Head. The first train of the day being the 6:45 a.m. from Ryde Pier Head and the last being the 11:15 p.m. A major part of the investment in Island Line was the introduction of a passing loop at Brading to enable the regular 30-minute service. This was first revealed in September 2019. Island Line reopened to passengers on the 1st of November after a 10-month improvement programme. The scheme was only meant to last 3 months, but COVID, Brexit and software issues pushed things back from April to November. The line reopened with an early timetable due to fewer passengers travelling in the winter months, and Wight Link still running an early service on their Fastcat service. A South West Railways spokesman has said, as part of the £26 million upgrade of the Island Line, 2 trains per hour now serve customers during peak periods. This uplift more than adequately meets current customer demand and closely aligns with the Wight Link ferry service to and from Ryde Pier Head, which runs once an hour for the majority of the time. We continuously monitor customer demand and remain committed to adjusting service levels as and when it is appropriate to do so.
Good morning, this is Francis.
Good morning, this is Jerry.
We're starting with the Society's news for this week. Swimming will resume on Monday the 25th of April. The group are looking for more members to join them at Medina Leisure Centre every Monday between 1:30 and 2:30. The group has full use of the pool and the cost is only £5.
Coffee and chat is on every Wednesday at Millbrook House, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Only £1 for cake and coffee. Please come along for a chat and members of staff will be there for any assistance with equipment and information.
Our Mix and Mingle group is on a Thursday at Millbrook House between 10:30 and 2 p.m. The group enjoys a variety of activities.
The charity has a fundraising pudding and quiz night on Friday night at Millbrook House. Maximum of 4 people per team and the charge is £5 per person. If you would like to enter a team, please call the office. We have a maximum capacity of 10 teams.
The monthly 10-pin bowling will be next Wednesday the 27th at Ryde Super Bowl at 2 p.m. Please come along to this friendly group and have a go. The cost is only £4 per game. Please call the office to let them know if you will be attending.
Everyone should now have received the new list of activities outlining our current activities available, and also the exciting news regarding the charity's Jubilee Street Party on May the 26th. If you would like to attend, please call Susan, but spaces are limited to 80 people, and if the numbers exceed, then a ballot will be drawn.
The next fundraising meeting is on Tuesday the 3rd of May at Millbrook House, starting at 10 a.m. If anyone would like to join the small committee, they would be very welcome. Please call the office and speak to Susan for more details.
The charity's holiday break at Warner's is this week, and we would like to wish all the staff, volunteers and members who are attending a fantastic and enjoyable time away.
We now move on to letters to the editor. Keep up the good work, Islanders. From David Wight in Bonchurch. The people of the island have shown a wonderful act of help and kindness to Ukraine in its time of need. Even the county press has not failed in admirably doing its part. Having been personally involved in rescue attempts, I have to thank those caring and heroic people who wish to remain anonymous, without whose help I would not have known where to start. I have heard from 2 escapees about what they have experienced, even more general horrors in reaching the UK than the news channels have covered in detail as yet. All the people and volunteers, both in the UK and Europe, have risen to the challenge in a wonderful way, and we must not forget that people from the USA who are out there doing their part as well. But although the UK government is leading in helping militarily, other governments need to do more. Europe and NATO, lots of bluster but little help. Again, in the USA, bluster from Biden, but they certainly could supply more help. These governments could and should do more, not just impose sanctions, and mostly of late a few weapons along with sympathetic talk. While governments watch Putin is invading a smaller country. While governments watch, Putin is invading smaller countries, committing genocide, rape, creating a scorched earth policy, and ignoring all decent, humane behaviour. Hitler was quite rightly demonised, but Stalin, who committed the same atrocities, was partly ignored and left to carry on, his actions watched by us in the West. Now we have Putin doing the same as Hitler, and governments are partly appeasing him. I do not condone risking nuclear conflict, but governments could give greater ground and air military help, under the radar as you might say, and it could be done given the will. How can governments stand by and watch such happenings on their doorstep? If they do not make a stand, Putin will take it to mean weakness, and tomorrow it may be their country next. Dictators like Putin, Stalin and Hitler must be shown that this form of aggression will never be accepted by modern society and does not pay. Governments have to make an effort for a better, more peaceful future, starting with a stand against Putin. Governments always find reasons for negating responsibility, but we all know in truth, where there is a will, there is a way. And we need to persuade our government and MPs and other governments to take positive action now, not only for Ukraine, but our future and the future of our young people. Isle of Wight, please keep your splendid efforts going in helping Ukraine.
Pragmatic ferry solutions needed. Paul Long from Yarmouth says, having recently been significantly inconvenienced by a particular silly white link error, I feel the time has come to find a realistic, pragmatic solution to the island's ferry problems. I feel the behaviour of the ferry companies penalises life on the island on many fronts. For instance, I would ask who would start a business here with the known ferry service and reliability problems. Tourism must also be damaged, especially in the shoulder holiday periods, because of the prices / reputational difficulties of Whitelink in particular. The most serious recent issue has been that I expect the ferries have contributed to the COVID spread on the island, with overcrowded boats operating reduced timetables. Then finally, there is the obvious day-to-day frustration of islanders trying to use the services. I propose that Wight Link and Red Funnel are placed under the regulatory regime run by Ofwat. This organisation controls pricing in the water industry, where the various water companies typically operate a monopoly. It is designed to ensure the water companies achieve a reasonable profit on the assets they employ and can fund their capital expenditure. Initially, profits should be regulated by controlling ticket prices to a typical level of return for a low-risk transport company. I understand there is no regulation whatsoever at present. Going forward, the company should be allowed additional profits based on reliability, cross-use of boats, preventative maintenance, etc., punctuality, effective customer communication, operating a full timetable, a public service obligation, cleanliness of the boats, cross-training of staff, all the way to CEO level to avoid the frequent failures of service because of missing crew members, annual customer surveys, and I am sure there are others. This initiative would not require government funding to buy out existing shareholders and will not require significant management oversight or cost. Ofwat already exists. It is doable and would not require much legislation. Importantly, it does not involve the ferry businesses being taken into the public sector, which I know has been suggested, but which I expect would lead to service levels dropping further. And most importantly of all, it should lead to an immediate reduction in ticket prices. I feel particularly in the case of Wight Link, the pandemic has shown that the current private equity type ownership does not work when there is a public service obligation.
Immigrants issue a smokescreen from Stephen Longford in Northwood. Boris Johnson always throws a dead cat into the ring to keep damaging issues to his leadership off the front pages. This time, Nadine Dorries has obliged with her plans to sell off Channel 4, swiftly followed by Priti Patel with that old Conservative Party favourite guaranteed to get voters frothing at the mouth, immigration, and plans to send immigrants to Rwanda, and we fall for it every time.
Fascinating read by Marion Coulin from Calbourne. I read with interest your article on Steep Hill Castle, which was in the county press on the 15th of the 4th 22. I happen to have just read on Friday morning the chapter on Steep Hill Castle in the book by John Morgan Richards called Almost Fairyland. The book was published in 1914 and there is no mention of Mr. Morgan Richards purchasing the castle. The book is full of very interesting details of his visits to Ventnor over 40 years, from 1872 to 1913. I'm only halfway through, so lots more to learn.
Why should Bob break rules and get away with it? Kirsten Hackman, Chessington, Surrey. Given Bob Seeley MP was reported on the BBC Live Reporting website. Speaking a little earlier, Conservative MP Bob Seeley said he genuinely wasn't sure how he'd vote on any referral of the PM to the Privileges Committee. I think we all make mistakes, clearly, but I do think the mother of all apologies is the order of the day, he told the BBC's World at One. Seeley said he'd received 150 to 200 emails about Partygate over the last 2 to 3 weeks, but added that over the same period he'd had more correspondence on an animal welfare bill. This is the same Bob Seeley who attended a lockdown barbecue 20 days after my mum died after contracting COVID in St Mary's Hospital in May 2020. He broke the rules then and got away with it. Is he now willing to put his hand up and also be held accountable for his own rule breaking.
Pull the Other by Robert Swinton from Ventnor. Boris Johnson would now have us all believe he didn't realise he was doing anything wrong. Really? How stupid does he believe the British public are? Remember June 2020? Restrictions were really tough. Most people were working from home or wearing masks behind protective screens. Meetings were held remotely via Microsoft Teams screens. The idea of waltzing into a cabinet room with party food laid out on the table, people singing happy birthday, and not immediately knowing that this was wrong is a total absurdity.
There were Isle of Wight ferry problems in 1861 too, from Anne Grant in Fareham. As the perennial debate reignites about Solent ferry services and solutions to the problem, others have tried before and failed, always for the same reason. When doing research on a family with Isle of Wight connections, I was sent this illustration by a descendant of that family. This magnificent American riverboat-style ferry was the longed-for solution by islanders and mainlanders alike, who were desperate to break the stranglehold the other two ferry companies had on the Solent travel in 1861. The Lord of the Isles maiden voyage was enjoyed by invited guests and local investors, including the Ward family of Northwood House. Other small investors were Isle of Wight innkeepers and businesses. All quickly lost their money. The two rival ferry companies undercut ticket prices and ran them out of business. The new company was bankrupt within months. Sound familiar? Today, travel celebs do TV shows cruising on luxury river paddleboat steamers. Not this one around the island, though. The acclaimed luxurious Lord of the Isles went to the scrapyard. My thanks to Gerard Molyneux for this image from his Muntz family archive. Engineer William Muntz designed the paddle mechanism.
Trying to persuade dog owners to think. Name and address supplied but withheld. In response to Lawrence Pendrill's letter about the problems caused by dog failing, which appeared in the County Press on the 8th of April 22, I decided to try an experiment to see how dog owners would react. One of the litter bins in Tower Garden, Shankling, is only a few paces away from a dog bin. However, many dog owners prefer to use the litter bin for their dog's waste, and it's sometimes overflowing with small black bags. I made what I thought was a non-authoritarian sign and attached it to the litter bin, but it was only there for 4 days before someone removed it. My second, poetic effort met the same fate after only 2 days. Talking to the council employee whose task it is to empty litter bins, he said, "Nice idea, love, but you're wasting your time. There's a hard core of militant dog owners who don't like being told what to do and like nothing better than to flout the rules." It seems he's right, but I do feel sorry for the majority of dog owners who all get tarred with the same brush.
We now move on to memories. Tales from the rise and fall of our characterful island railway network. There was once over 60 miles of railway across the island. There were lines between Cowes and Ryde, Ryde and Ventnor, Newport and Freshwater, Newport and Sandown, and even a line from Brading to Bembridge. All that is left today is Island Line between Ryde and Shanklin, and Smallbrook to Wharton, operated by the Isle of Wight Steam Railway. The railway was fast, cheap, and it changed people's lives forever, but they left a lot to be desired in the early days. A Victorian cartoon showed a poster at Ryde Pier declaring the Isle of Wight Railway, 12 miles in 12 hours for 12 shillings, while a local joke claimed the dog which fell out of the train window at Newport was waiting for the train on its arrival at Avon Street. But before we begin, let's get one thing clear. Dr. Beeching didn't close a single railway line. In 1963, he was asked by the Conservative government for a list of uneconomic lines. By the time he produced it, the Tories were gone, defeated by Labour in the 1964 election. Barbara Castle, the new Transport Minister, was expected to ignore Beeching's recommendations, but she said, "No, close down them all." So it was the nasty Labour Party that closed the lines, not the nasty Tory Party, and certainly not Dr. Beeching. The first line to open was the Cowes to Newport Railway in 1962, and the last line, opened in 1897, joined Newport to Godshill and Ventnor. The Cowes to Ryde line returned a profit until the 1950s, as did the Ryde to Shanklin line, but the rest barely earned a penny. In 1879, a line opened between Newport and Sandown, passing through Shide, Blackwater, Merston, Orringford, Newchurch and Ulverston. The Isle of Wight Observer in 1878 commented that the people of Horringford might wish to visit the people of Blackwater was reasonable to suppose, but the company could not really expect them to do it often enough to make the line pay, and so it was. The line went into bankruptcy even before it opened. In 1894, a Newport councillor told a council meeting if passengers took a waterproof and umbrella with them, they could travel with fair comfort. The line was a dustbin on wheels. However, the line did leave us a nature reserve, Pan Chalk Pit, which once supplied the Medina cement mills with chalk, and its other legacy is the cycleway from Shide to Sandown, with Merston Station in the middle, remaining as busy as it ever was, but now as a car park for the cyclists. In 1888, a line was opened between Newport and Freshwater. It never made a penny and was closed in 1963. In 1983, Colin Fairweather and myself recorded interviews with islanders, then in their 80s, about their lives. George Bolt, a telephone engineer, rode the line many times. We asked him if it was a nice ride out to Freshwater. He told us, yes, but by the time you got to Freshwater you were lucky if you was in the same seat as what you had started in at Newport. You used to bump about all over the place. The line was rickety as anything. In 2013, a collection of over 400 love letters between Mabel Attrell and her fiancé, Bob Brimson, in the trenches on the Somme, came to light. One of the letters to Bob, written in December 1918, and now in the possession of Richard Brimson, backs George up. There was an half a nice concert at the drill hall. They took off the Freshwater Railway a treat. The man says, I was on the 11:59 to Freshwater. Suddenly there was an awful crash. The man at the piano touches the top notes so as you could just hear. The train stopped, with carriages piled on top of each other. The guard investigated and found a fly on the line. In December 1890, the county press piled in. The scene, a railway platform not 100 miles from Brading. Gentleman to station master, bustling along the platform. You seem to have plenty to do here, station master. Station master. I do, sir, what with the trains coming in this way and that way, besides attending to passengers' luggage and goods traffic. Gentleman. Yes, I know something of what it is, being station master at Clapham Junction. Exit station master. The station master at Brading was Mr. Corbett, and he knew nothing about this conversation until he saw it in the county press. He wasn't happy and dashed off a letter to the editor. Sir, doubtless the festivities of Christmas assisted the vivid imagination of the person who invented a conversation said to have taken place with me. I flatly deny uttering the words attributed to me. If the person will reply, perhaps he will be candid enough to add his name and address. George Corbett, station master. There was no reply. Line closures in the 1950s left just the cows to ride and ride to Ventnor lines open until they too were closed in 1966, apart from the ride to Shanklin section. There was surprisingly little protest from the general public. The motor car and buses had won the day. 3 of the photographs accompanying the article were taken by myself. The remainder come from a huge collection of high-quality negatives collected by Colin Fairweather, railway enthusiast and photographer, who has kindly allowed their use here. His superb collection of island railway negatives may well be the largest in private hands.
Ukrainians welcomed by our island spirit, by Matthew Chatfield. The war in Ukraine touches all of us, and sometimes in ways we don't expect. Perhaps, like me, you feel a sense of unease when you see the devastation in Mariupol and compare it with the comfortable life we have here on the island. While the shells are falling, I'm dabbing my sandy feet in the sea and contemplating an ice cream. It can feel awkward, wrong. There's no logic in feeling this way. If I stayed indoors, doom scrolling, rather than enjoying the spring weather, it would solve nothing. Nor would the beleaguered Ukrainian people know or care. So let me offer a positive opinion. I believe the Isle of Wight has got something special that is important, that is special to us, and that will matter to at least some of those people fleeing from the conflict in Ukraine. That is the art of giving a genuine welcome. The island has, for 2 centuries, been a holiday island. Few places have gone to such lengths to make themselves a welcoming and comfortable place for visitors to stay. Our whole infrastructure and annual calendar of events is dedicated to visitors and to ensuring that they have a good time. Last weekend, I sat in the sun, enjoying a cream tea with the outstanding view that comes from sitting outside the tea room at Isle of Wight Pearl. A couple of families were there, kids playing on the grass, a young couple peering bravely over the cliff edge. It was a typical bank holiday sight. However, the surprising thing I realised was that I appeared to be the only native English speaker there. Later that weekend, I was with a Serbian immigrant learning to make Orthodox-style dyed Easter eggs to give to friends, a tradition of some of the displaced Ukrainian families who have recently taken refuge here on the island. I came to the welcome realisation that the island is successfully becoming a much more international place than it once was. We've got a way to go before we entirely lose those notorious shops selling racist dolls and the barely concealed xenophobia that lurks behind occasional letters, even in this very newspaper. I hope those are just impotent echoes of vanishing past. But it is now no novelty to hear another language spoken in the street or to see people of colour. It's normal and it's fine. We know how to do this. We have it in us to welcome guests and to make them comfortable. We've taken in Syrians, Afghans and now Ukrainians who need our help and support, and we'll do it again. Volunteers and staff from local charities and organisations are right now working together and finding safe and supportive places for refugees to stay here on the island. We can be proud of how our small community has risen to this, not just with practical help, but with the true Isle of Wight spirit of making visitors feel as though they really belong.
Need work done? Check out this advice first, which is from the Isle of Wight Against Scams Partnership. When you want work done at your property, where do you go? It can be really difficult to know who to trust to carry out a good job on our most expensive possession. Here is some advice to follow. Never deal with anyone who knocks your door out of the blue and offers to do work for you. Be very wary of any flyers that come through the door. They are very easy to make and cheap to print, and don't always mean a trader is genuine. Be very wary of companies that match you with a trader. You post an advert on their site and then traders respond. These generally do not carry out any vetting procedures, and if you check the small print, won't do anything if an issue arises. Anyone, skilled or not, can respond to your request. Don't mistake them for a trader-approved scheme. They aren't. Always make sure that you get the trader's full name and address. You will need this information if anything goes wrong and you need to pursue them through the courts. Take recommendations from friends and family. While this is no guarantee of a good job, good references can put your minds at rest. Go to the Isle of Wight Trader Approval Scheme, where the traders have been thoroughly vetted. Reporting a scam. For advice on scam calls, Citizens Advice Consumer Helpline 0808 250 5050. To report a scam call, Action Fraud 0300 123 2040. If you are concerned about somebody you care about, or for more information on scams, visit the website www.iwasp.org.uk.
Steve Miller, guitarist at Dimbola. He was the guitarist on a string of massive worldwide hits for the Steve Miller Band in the 70s and 80s. And now Greg Douglas is playing the Isle of Wight. The man who played on hits such as The Joker, Fly Like an Eagle and Abracadabra will be playing at Dimbola Museum and Galleries in Freshwater Bay as part of his UK tour on Tuesday. Greg will play with his top-class band, the Pompatus of Love. They will be playing a night of classic Steve Miller music as part of a 16-day tour that will take in top venues. The Steve Miller Band's greatest hits, 1974 to 1978, has sold over 13 million copies, and in 2016 the band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. Formed in 1966 in San Francisco, the band released 18 studio albums, 7 live albums, 7 compilation albums, and at least 29 singles. As well as the Steve Miller Band, Greg was also a former member of the Jefferson Airplane offshoot Hot Tuna, the Greg Kinn Band, playing on their #1 US hit Jeopardy, and Van Morrison's band. He has played and recorded with many other American rock legends too. On his UK tour, Greg fronts the Pompatus of Love, featuring 3 top-class British musicians who all played the Isle of Wight Festival with another top San Francisco band, It's a Beautiful Day. The band includes Portsmouth bass player Steve Browning, who previously played in the Pretty Things. Doors open at 7 p.m, with tickets £8 in advance via secure PayPal link from http://thesanitycompany.co.uk/bullfrog tickets/. Tickets will also be available on the door, subject to availability.
Top acts at Robin Hill for Woodland shows. A lineup of stars has been announced for Robin Hill's Woodland Sessions 2022. Singer Russell Watson, comedian Russell Kane, Sigma and the Bootleg Beatles are among the acts set to perform during July and August. After a successful debut last year, it was recently announced the Woodland Sessions would be returning to Robin Hill this summer, with 5 shows billed as exceptional talent in an exceptional setting. Woodland Sessions comedy kicks off the summer series on Friday, July the 15th, with popular TV comedians Russell Kane, Marcus Brigstock, Angela Barnes, and Susie Ruffle. Woodland Sessions party on Saturday, July the 16th, sees the return of Rhythm of the 90s with dance covers and party starters. On Friday, July the 22nd, Beatles tribute show The Bootleg Beatles make their island debut at Woodland Sessions Icons, complete with a strings and brass ensemble and 40 years of international sellout shows behind them. Woodland Sessions Dance On Friday, August the 12th, brings back memories of the festivals past at Robin Hill. World-renowned drum and bass act Sigma have been at the forefront of the UK scene for over 10 years, attracting stars such as Take That, Paloma Faith and Rita Ora to lend their vocals to their hits, while Dimension is at the forefront of a new wave of dance music headliners. The summer series bows out with the Woodland Sessions Classical on Saturday, August the 13th, with an intimate show from one of the world's very best classical singers, Russell Watson. He was described by the New York Times as a performer who sings like Pavarotti and entertains like Sinatra. Robin Hill Park manager James Crofts said, "We're over the moon we're able to bring the Woodland Sessions back for a second year to further enhance Robin Hill's, and indeed the island's, exciting summer season of events. To attract talent such as Russell Watson to the Woodland Sessions in only our second year is a huge coup. There's truly something for everyone at the Woodland Sessions, and we can't wait to welcome old friends and new to these unique shows. There's truly something for everyone at the Woodland Sessions. Capacity is limited per night, and tickets go on general sale today, Friday, at robinhill.com/Woodland Sessions.
Boat Jumble event set to return. The popular Boat Jumble is back at Island Harbour, after a 3-year break, Island Harbour's Spring Boat Jumble returns on Saturday, April the 30th. Island Harbour Yacht Club Secretary Heather Bowley is organising the event, following on from a successful jumble at the Folly Inn last October. The Breeze Bar and restaurants will be providing breakfast and takeaway butties and hot drinks from 8 a.m. All pitch fees will be donated to the RNLI, who will be carrying out free life jacket checks from their stand and offering safety advice. Ride Sea Cadets who have a kayaking and dinghy sailing and training centre at Island Harbour will be selling jumble to raise funds. Pitches are £10 for a private car and table space. More space is available by negotiation. To book, contact Heather on 07968 401 322 or email Heather at heather@ihyc.org.uk. Setup is between 8 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. and the jumble is open to the public from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Parking and entry is free.
More names on Drumming and Strumming Bill. TV's Alan Titmarsh and children's novel author Michael Morpurgo are among the guests added to the Drumming and Strumming for Shanklin Theatre lineup on Thursday. Sir Michael, known for War Horses and Private Peaceful, joins TV gardener, author and broadcaster Alan Titmarsh and Welsh singer-songwriter Martin Joseph. Founding member of the Rolling Stones, Dick Taylor, one of the Pretty Things, will also make an appearance. The one and only Chesney Hawkes, The Four of Us, and BBC DJ Mark Radcliffe were confirmed earlier this month. Meanwhile, a host of island bands will also be taking part, including the Rare Breeds Medicine Show, featuring J.C. Grimshaw, Greg Barnes, Fallon Richards, Amy Jolliffe, and the Solar Escape. In the second year, Drumming and Strumming for Shanklin Theatre is an online concert aiming to raise cash for the theatre. Event organisers Tilly Grimshaw and Jake Curran said, "We are amazed with the lineup. Tune into the premiere on your YouTube channel. Huge thanks to everyone who helped make the concert as great as it is, and don't forget to donate to Shanklin Theatre." Shanklin Theatre chairman Vic Farrow said, "We are so pleased Tilly and Jake have chosen to repeat Drumming and Strumming for Shanklin Theatre this year, and we thank them most sincerely for all their time and effort in putting together another great lineup. Watch it on YouTube at 7 p.m. via https://www.youtube.com/channel/UCWL-DH3NB-Y-XN/OHBR6EG. Donate at https://shanklintheatre.com.donations.
What's on at Shanklin Theatre? Agatha Christie and the Village Hall Murders. Agatha Christie is a crime novelist and amateur detective. She arrives in the village of Chalkby to have a few days' holiday with her cousin Ellis. No sooner does she arrive than the bodies start piling up. This is a fun whodunit with an ingenious plot to tax your little grey cells, if you can stop laughing. This production is by arrangement with Stage Crips Limited. Tickets are £10 and Agatha Christie will be on Wednesday the 27th of April at 7:30, Thursday the 28th of April at 7:30 and Friday the 29th of April also at 7:30. The ABBA Reunion Tribute Show, this is a rescheduled date, gives ABBA fans, old and new, the opportunity to once again get together and relive the addictive ABBA phenomena that swept the airwaves and discos during the 70s and 80s in a truly feel-good party-style tribute concert. From Waterloo to Dancing Queen, all the hits are performed with unrivalled authenticity from both an audio and visual perspective. Tickets are £22.50. Please be aware that the artist may request people to get up and dance, and this may restrict your view. The ABBA Reunion Tribute Show is on Saturday the 30th of April at 7:30. Women in Rock, this is also a rescheduled date, the ultimate celebration of the world's greatest female anthems. Since 2016, Women in Rock have been wowing audiences across the UK and Europe with their high-energy performances, featuring soaring vocals, choreography, audience interaction, striking costumes, and backed by a band of world-class musicians. Women in Rock has built a reputation as the leading rock show around. Tickets are £20 and Women in Rock is on Friday the 6th of May at 7:30. Alistair McGowan, The Piano Show, another rescheduled date, the classical concert you've always wanted to see, a unique mix of classic comedy and classical music. Following the success of his Sony album, which reached number 1 in the UK classical album charts, comes Alistair McGowan's new show, combining his talents as master impressionist and comedian with his newfound talent as a classical pianist. Beautiful music and more than a sprinkling of Alistair's trademark impressions. Tickets are £22 and Alistair McGowan is on Saturday the 7th of May at 7:30, and Shanklin box office can be contacted on 01983 868 000, or you can go to www.shanklintheatre.com.
Something to look forward to. The Trinity Theatre performance of The Shadow Factory on Sunday, April the 24th is at 2:30 p.m, not 7:30 p.m. as stated last week. We apologise for any confusion. Ventnor Theatre Group are performing Legally Blonde, the musical, this weekend at Medina Theatre. Based on the 2001 movie with the same name, it tells the story of Ellie Woods and her transformation whilst in pursuit of her dreams. The production is on tonight at 7:30, tomorrow, Saturday, 2:30, and 7:30, and Sunday at 2:30. Tickets are £19.50 online at medinatheatre.co.uk/Legally Blonde Musical. The music of Lionel Richie. Malcolm Pitt celebrates the music of Lionel Richie and the Commodores in this high-octane show. The award-winning 5-star production also features a lineup of world-class musicians, including musical director Johnny Milner from Talon. This Sunday at Shanklin Theatre from 7:30 p.m. Tickets are £22 and concessions are £20 at Shanklin Theatre. Valentine Gray, The Trial. The Isle of Wight Sealed Writ Society presents Valentine Gray, The Trial, a reenactment of the murder trial based on original court manuscripts. It's up to the audience to decide the verdict. Next Thursday, April the 28th, at the Key Arts in Newport at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are £10, with proceeds going to the Isle of Wight Youth Trust. They can be purchased at Key Arts. Tomorrow, Saturday, at Brading Haven Yacht Club, there is a craft fair to raise money for the British Red Cross Humanitarian Crisis Appeal. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m, free parking and a bar. All are welcome. World's Greatest Psychic. June Field, quoted as the world's best psychic, will be at Shanklin Theatre tonight, Friday, from 7:30 p.m. She was born with the gift of sight and has read for many celebrities such as Gene Wilder, Susan Boyle and Jane MacDonald. It's said to be an evening of high energy, compassion, laughter and tears. Tickets are available for £26.50, over 16s only.
Ride Bar holding Ukraine Support Day. A Ride Bar is holding Ukraine Support Day today, Friday, to support the work of an inspirational young man who helps the elderly and fights to defend his native Ukraine. Bar 74 on Union Street is raising funds for Senya, who with his friends distributes free meals to the elderly whose neighbourhoods have been devastated by war in and around the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Senya has been through mobile strikes himself. He serves in the Territorial Defence Force, and his friend was killed in the Battle of Hostomel. Although he is only aged 19, he has been buying food, coordinating the preparation and delivering thousands of free meals since the war with Russia started. Bar 74 is also making donations to Lifeline Ukraine, a Samaritans-type helpline that supports anyone affected by the conflict. A spokesperson said, "If we raise enough funds, we would also like to make a contribution towards buying an ambulance. Please come and support our event, relax and enjoy the music and poetry. Buy a piece of art or some raffle tickets and help us to continue to support Senya and other causes." The Ukraine Support Day will include music, poetry, a dance display, a Tai Chi demonstration, an art sale, a raffle and buskers from the town. The event is scheduled to start at 4 p.m.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye. There is no scaffolding news this week. The In Touch programme follows. Ukrainian stories from Poland. We revisit the topic of how the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine is impacting its visually impaired citizens. We speak to married couple Denis and Olga Petrov, who evacuated to Poland soon after the war began. They tell us about how they got across the border with a small child, a pregnancy and 7 animals. A few weeks ago we spoke to Olga Mahler about how she travelled nearly 10,000 miles across the world from Australia to help visually impaired refugees with food and accommodation. Once they have crossed the border into Poland, Olga attended a boarding school for the blind in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. We caught up with her to see how her blind parents, who refuse to leave their home in Ukraine, are getting along and how her aid efforts have developed.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. The previous programme has been concentrating on political and military responses to the situation in Ukraine. But of course, for millions of Ukrainians, it's a family or an individual decision that they have to make. Do I stay and stick it out, or do I go to protect myself and those close to me? And for blind and partially sighted people, such decisions are complicated by having to cope with a change in circumstances with little or no vision. Well, a few weeks ago, we heard from Olga Mahler, who grew up and attended a blind school in Kharkiv, later moved to Australia, but has returned with her husband to offer help to visually impaired people coming over the border into Poland. Well, when we talked to her last, she spoke movingly about her own parents, both also blind, who weren't prepared to leave their home where everything was familiar, difficult as the current situation is for them.
It takes them 3 days to finally find a loaf of bread. The food is scarce, they live in the outskirts, and being blind, they don't have means of safely traveling further than the direct area around them, and it's not safe in terms of war and everything. At the moment, they are refusing to go, and I'd say that's how it will go in future, because they're saying we will just die here rather than suffer somewhere else.
Well, we got a lot of responses to that, and later on we'll hear more about what Olga's been doing to help people trying to cope as refugees, and also catching up with how her parents are coping as well. But one couple who did decide that leaving Ukraine was the right thing to do for them was Denis and Olga Petrov. The Russians invaded on their daughter's 5th birthday, and Olga is expecting another baby in around 3 months' time. Well, about 10 days after the invasion, they moved out. I'm joined on the line by Denis and Olga. I want you both to tell me really about that decision. What were the considerations that you had to take into account when deciding whether to stay or go?
This decision for us was a bit different because for me, the main consideration was the safety of my child. But when the war started, it wasn't right away very clear how to go. And I realized the first day of the war, I realized that all my plans were not very practical, because it turned out that on the roads there were enormous traffic jams, and it was pretty dangerous to travel, and we had no idea how to travel with all our animals, because we have quite a lot of pets, and we consider ourselves responsible for them.
I'm going to get you to come to that. I want to go to Denis, because you made that interesting point that you looked at it very differently. Can I ask you, Denis, what your attitude was? Because presumably as a blind man, you weren't going to fight.
Of course, I wouldn't be able to fight, but then on the other hand, could be maybe some work for me as a volunteer in various fields. But then on the other hand, as a blind person, I would be of a lot of trouble to other people who would have to make sure that the food is delivered to me and so on and so forth. So I realized it was ridiculous to stay on the one hand, but on the other hand, I simply wanted to be there. It's irrational. It's the place you have sentiments for, and you do not want to leave, especially when you are forced to.
Did you argue about it?
No, not really. Not maybe a little, but not much.
The considerations of safety, they were quite clear, because we couldn't reach medical care which was critical.
Yes, it was getting very scary, and we were not so much arguing, but I remember that there was one day when, in fact, Olga Mahler wrote to me and said there were some volunteers helping blind people to leave from Kharkiv, and I started crying uncontrollably, because I knew I wanted to go, but I was scared and I didn't know how. It was from Kharkiv, not from our place, and so I think it was the beginning of real action for us.
So how did you go in the end? I mean, how did you get to the border?
A relative of our former neighbor who was volunteering, he was driving back and forth to the border, and he picked us up with all the animals. And he brought us not to the border, but to Khmelnytsky. Then other people picked us up from there and took to Ternopil, another western city in Ukraine, and then were taken by some other transport to the border.
You better explain about these animals. Olga, how many animals are we talking about here?
We're talking about 5 cats and 2 middle-sized dogs.
Right. I mean, weren't you making things rather difficult for yourselves? They were difficult enough as it was, trying to take out 5 cats and 2 dogs?
Yes, so in fact, I think one of also very important points for our departure was when a Polish pen pal told me about a Facebook group where Polish people tried to help Ukrainian pets and Ukrainian animals. So before that, I couldn't even think that somebody would, allow us into their apartment or into their place with all these animals. And so we were rather thinking about maybe finding some temporary accommodation for them, maybe.
The plan was basically to leave them behind in Poland and
Yes.
probably travel to Italy.
But in the end, you did take them. I mean, can you explain what happened when you got to the border?
So when we got to the border, we already had connections in Poland with people who were ready to help us, and they picked us up from there. So from there, it went all very smoothly. And maybe it's important also to mention that before we left, Dennis wrote a post to this Facebook group, and he got unbelievable response from the Polish people. It was like really, really huge and touching, and many people offered help. But finally, a woman offered us to stay in an apartment she had. We live there alone without anyone else and with our pets.
The whole business of leaving like this, what did you leave behind?
Everything.
Yeah, since we were taking the animals, we couldn't take much more. So it was one suitcase with just a little bit of very basic clothes and speaking a thermometer, and everything we had to leave, like our house or whatever there was in the house.
All our possessions, yes. And as our new Polish friends joke, we start a new life with 1 suitcase and 5 cats.
Can I ask about work? I mean, Dennis, do you work and what do you do?
A very complicated question. Yeah, I used to be a freelancer and I was working mainly for one platform, and things there went sour just before the war. So I was starting to look for a new job when it all happened, and now I continue to do it in Poland, but so far not too much success, which is very unfortunate because we cannot stay here for free forever. There are many refugees here, so the jobs are really hard to find. But for somebody with the disability, it's you multiply it,
And I guess the other factor, Olga, is that you're pregnant. There's a new baby on the way as well.
Exactly, yes. So that's also financially a strain, even in the best circumstances, right? So it's not very easy. And I know that I won't be able to work for a month at least, because what I do is teaching languages online. And I lost most of my students because of this situation, because most of them were either from Ukraine or from Russia, and you cannot get payments from Russia anymore. And so I dropped those students as well. And as the baby arrives, I understand that I will have to make a break in my work anyway. So
now, only a few days ago, there were signs that some people were gradually moving back to Ukraine. Now, since then, of course, attacks have become more frequent again and more widespread. What's your own view?
The process has not stopped. I mean, yes, the attacks are more severe, but people are still going back. Like one of our neighbors we heard from today, she returned, and Kyiv, it is more or less safe. It's just the only thing, there are too many mines around. Right.
And Olga, what about you? Given what you said about your reasons for leaving in the first place.
I think about it a lot, and it's very complicated. So really, I don't have a clear picture in mind, and I try not to think about the future, because I don't know where I want to be anymore, and I don't know what my life will be like anymore. I can't imagine it here. I can't imagine it there either. So I'm concentrating on having the baby in July, and that's the main thing I'm going to do right now. The rest will come later, I guess.
Well, Olga and Denis Petrov, we can only wish you the very best of luck, particularly good luck with the baby, Olga, and thank you both for talking to us. Well, Olga Mahler, who we heard briefly from earlier, has been in Poland for the past several weeks, helping those coming over the border. Well, she's been bringing me up to date with what she's been up to.
So since we talked last, the flow of refugees trying to find home in another country actually slowed down. A lot of people have found their temporary home, whether it was in Poland or Sweden. And we were actually starting to look for another project, but we didn't have to wait too long. Back in high school, I went to America as an exchange student, and the family host sister was also blind, and her name is Laurel Wheeler. Laurel has started a charity, Laurel Wheeler Foundation, that provides blind people in Eastern Europe with assistive technology. It could be braille displays, laptops, phones, even canes or braille papers, anything really. We've been able to purchase 50 second-hand laptops in a wonderful condition. We also purchased around 20 smartphones, and Laurel actually visited personally us in Warsaw, and she brought with her some second-hand braille displays, magnifiers, a lot of canes. So we've been running like crazy, distributing all the stuff to blind people, but it made a really, really big difference.
Is this really for blind people who've come out of Ukraine but have come in a hurry, haven't been able to bring their stuff?
Absolutely. So I am not exactly sure why the reason is, but most Ukrainians have desktops. So a laptop here was really a saving tool for them, because a lot of them continue online work, online schooling at university, at actual, high school. And without a laptop, it was not really possible. People were telling me horrible stories how they were trying to submit assignments, typing them on their smartphone, so it was life-changing.
So it sounds as if quite a lot of blind and partially sighted people have come out of Ukraine. Do you have any idea how many?
Oh, that would be hundreds. But we were able also to help blind Ukrainians who were misplaced and moved from eastern Ukraine to western part of Ukraine. In fact, my husband, regardless of my plea not to, made a trip from Poland to Ukraine to deliver some very valuable equipment. Laurel's Foundation has purchased for Ukrainian blind journalists a braille printer. And not only that, my husband also was able to send 2 large parcels to my parents in Kharkiv who are still there. It's a bit of a miracle on its own, their story, in terms of us being able to help them at least with some food and clothes, because you're actually not able to send from Poland to their address in Ukraine, because all the parcels that arrive by the only courier who is able to deliver parcels to the area where they live, everything that arrives is considered as humanitarian aid. Nothing gets delivered to any particular address. So just on few hours' notice, we were able to send my parents a large barrel of cheese and huge salami. And when my mother received that, she said, "I forgot what salami even smells like." would butter taste like? Because, so only foods that they were able to get was humanitarian aid from the West.
Are they still determined to stay in Ukraine?
They are determined to stay in Ukraine. They said we would rather die here. And they are even joking about it. They said, well, look, now you've sent us a new underwear and socks. We would not be embarrassed to get buried in it.
Just one more question, Olga. How many people have come over the border and how many blind people, how are they finding places to live?
That is one of the most difficult questions and something that blind people need help with. So as an example, we developed close relationship with one particular group. I have very soft spot for little children, especially if they're visually impaired. And so we found one group here not far from Warsaw in Lasky, in the blind school. There is a group of Ukrainian visually impaired and blind children, different ages, with their mothers. And they are staying there and attending classes at that blind school. But they are living in a sort of like, I would call it a school hotel. And we were told that, unfortunately, after the school year finishes, they are not able to stay there anymore, even though the conflict obviously is not going to end in a hurry, and the children will need to continue attending the school. So they're happy to continue providing education, but they are not able to continue providing accommodation. Basically, the Polish government, they have provided financial assistance to hosting families for every refugee, but only for 2 months. And the government, of course, can't afford it, but also they're trying to motivate you to get a job. But if you are visually impaired, if you're blind, it's not that easy. I fear that soon the war in Ukraine will disappear from headlines. People will forget about it, but the problem will remain. And people will need just as much help in few months as they are now or as they were a month ago. So my husband and I are planning to come back at the end of November. But it's just two of us, right? I don't underestimate, the amount of help that one or two people can provide. We're all just pieces in the puzzle, we all play a role. But I just hope that there will be more significant help provided to those people in need. I really hope so.
Olga Mahler, and we'll certainly be trying to keep in touch both with Olga and the Petrovs. And that's it for today. We welcome your emails, of course, intouch@bbc.co.uk. You can leave voice messages on 0161 836 1338, or you can go to our website, bbc.co.uk/intouch, from where you can download tonight's and past editions of the programme. From me, Peter Wight, producer Beth Hemmings, and studio managers Mike Smith and Mark Ward, goodbye.